Hey, it's Drew Neiser with another Tuesday tip. We just spent about 50 minutes talking about departmental design. And what was so interesting is there were about 10 of us on this huddle, and there were 10 different organizational designs. So it is not about necessarily following anybody else. It is about building a department that is right for your organization. So first up, we have Dan Lowden of Human Security. Dan, what is your tip for departmental design?
It's a great question, Drew. I mean, for me, it's what can have the most impact on the customer, new customer, current customer, to make sure that they feel a part of a community. We have a special group called Human Insights that enables us to provide a lot of value, show a lot of intelligence to ensure that that customer can do their job better. And they're a part of marketing, and it's been really impactful, very helpful.
I love the customer centricity of that. And it goes back to sort of if you take care of your customers and you do things for them, that will just pay off in spades. Okay, next up, let's go with Sara Larsen from Wolters Kluwer. Sara, what is your tip?
Very similar to Dan's. Think about and align around the customer experience, and think about that not just within marketing, but across the organization. Marketing touches the customer pretty much the full life cycle. So ensure that you're aligned with product, with the sales organization, and the customer experience organization.
I think this is so interesting because there's so much pressure on the CMO to fill pipeline. And so you two both are talking about aligning against customer experience. Chris Willis, Acrolinx, who is also Chief Pipeline Officer. What is your tip in this department?
So I think in a building situation, which is what I walked into at my current company, it's building with the corporate strategy. So our initial project, if you will, was to build a new story and go out and generate leads. So it was starting from product marketing, creating the story, into content, turning that story into bait, and then demand gen, taking that out and going and generating the leads. And that's essentially how I built my organization, finding people that could hit the ground running on day one in each one of those areas so that we're as effective from day one as possible.
And that is a really important tip that I'm just going to highlight, put a punctuation on. As a CMO, when you hire people who can hit the ground running, you are that much more effective. If you have to train them in their role, you're going to have to wait. Okay, Victoria Godfrey, what's your tip?
So my tip is very similar to Sarah's, which is always align with the corporate strategy. So make sure that your org is connected and cascading down from whatever the corporation is so that marketing continue to add as much value as it possibly can to the corporate goals.
Love it. Okay. Consistency. We are making sure we speak the language of the business with our staffing. Michael Welts, Wasabi.
From an early stage or even a hyper-growth company standpoint, it really comes down to productivity. So like you said earlier, it's about hitting the ground running. Identify the 3 to 4 direct reports that can give you the most. I tend to go hire people that have worked with me in the past or are experts in the area, but they also have to be utilitarians. Utility players. They could, straddle the fence in multiple roles. Surround them with their expertise, have them play multiple roles, and you're off and running.
And I think that's such an interesting point because we didn't talk about that in the huddle at all. But when you have these multiple players, probably their job might be more interesting too, as opposed to getting pigeonholed. Okay, Khalid Khatib from Stack Overflow, what's your tip?
I agree with everything that's been said. So mine's a little more tactical. And that's when doing a redesign or building out your org structure, look around and ask around too. Increasingly, technology companies and SaaS companies in particular have embraced really transparent models of doing business. And they're putting their org charts, like GitLab, for example, online. There's the org, the information. And so look at organizational design of comps, of peers, of sort of best in class marketing teams. And then don't necessarily copycat, but use that as a guidepost.
Interesting. That's brilliant. We're going to have to go find a couple of those. Okay, Brad Cohen from Aspiritech. Bring us home. What is your tip?
I'm going to take it in a little bit of a different direction and just say a few things that I really enjoyed about today. One is aligning with your company's, in our case, a mission, because we're a not-for-profit, not necessarily our goal or our corporate culture. And the tip that I found very interesting was really thinking about in the beginning of this conversation about attribution, kind of following that thread where things come from. So it really got me thinking. And in our case, there are 2 pipelines, pipeline of social mission and the pipeline of just services for pay. And so trying to figure that out was very interesting. And I'm definitely going to try to dig down into that more at my organization. So thank you for having me.
Hey, pleasure. So if you want to know and be at a place where we're sharing, caring, and daring each other to really be great CMOs, visit CMOhuddles.com or hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm Drew Neiser, and that is your Tuesday tip.